Okay, so now I will explain you a different type of high order component. And at first it's gonna look really weird, but don't worry, then we're gonna stop and explain you what's going on. So, you know, you're gonna get it, don't worry, it makes perfect sense, but it looks weird at the beginning. I've created a route so we can save some time. It's gonna be a user, the file is gonna be user.js, and you know, we just have a route that's gonna be user, and it's just returning a div with the user1. Okay. So first I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to start typing all of this. And again, it's not going to make sense, but then I will explain you. I'm going to go to HOCs and I'm going to create a new file that is going to be called user HOC, whatever, user HOC.js. And just like always, we need to import React from React, just like that. It is going to be a functional component, so we don't need to bring a component. So now I'm going to create a function that is going to be user HOC and it's going to be equal to a function, just like we did before. So this one is going to take some arguments. First one is going to be the wrapped component, just like that, and then it's going to receive an argument. It's going to be argument 1. Okay. So again, this function is going to return something, and what it's going to be returning, it's going to be whatever with the props, and then return a new function, let's say props. And then it's going to return a function. So this function is going to have some code inside. So this code, let me make it right. I made a mistake right there. There we go. Right here it's going to return some code, and this code is going to be just a component with the wrapped component inside. I know that it doesn't make sense so far, but don't worry, I'm going to explain you in a minute. I'm going to say export, and of course we need to make this component available, so I'm going to say user HOC. Good. So now I'm going to go back to user and I'm going to import this file. So it's going to be import, and then I'm going to call it HOC, makes sense, user HOC from, and then // HOC, and then user HOC. So now what we're going to do, instead of putting this component inside of here, I'm going to go right here at the bottom, and I'm going to say user HOC, making reference to this user. Let me change it, user. There we go. And then I'm going to pass this, the user, as the first argument, and then I'm going to say hello, just something simple, just a string. And if you notice, I'm going to reload the application and this is still working. So why is this working? We don't know this. So okay, so the application starts and we load the user component. It's going to be showing the user component, right? Well, not really. So what is happening is that it's loading this file, and this function, this component, it's not exported. You know, we have the export default, and instead of showing this, what we are doing, we are exporting the user HOC. Okay, so instead of doing this, it's going to go and do this. Now, user HOC is going to receive 2 arguments. First is going to be the actual component. This is going to be the component. And then, you know, we pass some text, just a string. Okay, so it's going to go to HOC, and instead of rendering this, it's going to render HOC. So let's go to HOC. So HOC, user HOC, is going to receive the wrapped component, which is going to be this component, and then an argument, which is going to be this text. So the job of this component is going to be returning just a function. And this function, what it's going to return is going to be a div with whatever component we passed as an argument. And that's why we are getting user1. So this is the, you know, it's a real weird right here. And whenever we get to Redux, we're going to find the same syntax right here. But this is the only thing that's happening. This function, it's receiving a component, and the job of this function is just return the component we get as an argument. Okay, that's good. You know, really weird. But why would we use this? Well, the cool thing about this is that we can call to a component, and we can pass a component, and then we can use different arguments. So right here, what I could do, I can say arg1, and you know, everything is gonna get rendered hello and user1. So we are outputting two pieces of code. First, whatever argument we get on top, and then the actual component that we are passing as an argument. And again, this user HOC could serve as a template for whatever. So we can go to a different component right here and call that user HOC and pass the component as an argument. And it will always be rendered with a div and maybe with the arguments. Okay, that's good. You know, it's nice. Nice to know that we have this available. Now the weird thing, the confusing thing, is going to be the props. Why am I doing this? Why am I passing this props? Okay, let's go back to user. Whenever we call this function, we load this component. Instead of running this, we run this. So if we remember, the component that wraps this section is going to be React Router. So React Router is going to give us some props. Now, if I go right here, and no, let's go to user. I'm going to go right here. I'm going to say console log, and then props. And right here at the top, I'm going to say props. Okay. So in theory, this user, this component, it's receiving the React Router props, just like we did before. Now, if we go to the console, we are getting nothing. We're just getting an empty object. And again, this makes perfect sense. The component that it's rendering, it's not this one. It's going to be user HOC. So the one that is getting the props, it's this one. So if I go right here and say console log and then props, I'm going to reload the page. Oh, made a mistake. Sorry for that. Let me copy it. I'm going to put it inside, of course, because we are getting the props right here. So if we reload the page, we are getting the props inside. You know, the props from React Router are entering this user HOC, and then we return the function with the props. So now the thing is that what we need to do is to pass the props that we are getting from React Router to the next component in the list, which is going to be the wrapped component. Remember, the wrapped component is going to be this component. So now how do we make this props available within this component? Okay, so I'm going to make a space, and what we do a little bit of a REST operator. It's going to be ... and then we pass props. And whatever props we are getting, we're going to pass them to the wrapped component. Let me delete this. So now remember that we are doing the console log of props. So now we are getting it. The props are available within this component. So again, we are just triggering this user HOC. This one is getting the props from React Router, and then we grab the props and we pass it to the next line of code, to the next component. Okay. So, you know, it's a little bit confusing, but once you get the idea of what the HOCs do, it's kind of simple. So again, this whole logic using HOCs, whenever we reach the practice project, is going to get really complex. We're going to have tons of code right here, and they're going to be checking important parts of our application, so we're going to use them. This is just a dumb example, but you're going to be doing more difficult stuff, don't worry. Okay, so let's keep moving forward. Let's go to the next topic. Sorry guys, I would like to add one more thing I forgot to mention. It's actually something really cool. So right here, whenever we are exporting the user HOC, we're just passing user. But something else that we could do, we can create whatever components right here. I'm going to just do two. We can have a lot of components, and I'm going to say user2 and then user2. And now, instead of just passing one component, we can pass as many components as we wish. And then right here, we're going to get them. So I'm going to say wrapped component as the second argument, and this one is going to be the number 2. So we are getting the first user1 component, the second user2 component, and then the arg. And right here, we do pretty much the same thing. You're still going to get the props, and we're going to say wrapped component. So instead of just rendering one component, we can render whatever component we want. We could have 10 different components, and you're going to be rendering all the components at once. All right, that's it. That's the only thing I wanted to add. Sorry for that. Let's move forward now.